person who demanded it is not here, but it does put you in the mood. I don't know what happened to her head, but so I don't have a pointer, but you can see Brazil is in the lower quadrant of South America, almost flat up against Chile, which is a long, skinny place. Argentina is pretty long too, and that's why looking at the north and the south, a couple of places in the south, is important because it's very heterogeneous as far as culture and topography and that kind of thing. So the stars on this map are where I was in both trips. And we start out in Buenos Aires. And then we went to Salta in 1993 in the north and almost to the Bolivian border. And then down to Puerto Madryn and on the cruise to Ushuaia and stopped in the Falkland Islands. So Argentina is very varied and has a lot of different wildlife and tame life and good food. And of course, Irma is here and she's from Argentina and she may have something else to say about it. But I know that there's a lot of problems in Argentina now, but I see it as a beautiful country, very cosmopolitan, very varied, and quite different from, say, Brazil or Chile, and very interesting and fun, I think. So I'll show you my version, and maybe you'll hear from her later. So it's the largest Spanish-speaking nation in the world, the 8th largest country. No, and although this Wikipedia says claims sovereignty over the Falkland Islands, I think that's going South Georgia and the South Sandwich Islands. The human presence in modern-day Argentina dates way back to the Paleolithic period. That's how old these civilizations are. I'm going to skip a lot of this, but the immigration came largely from Italy and Spain, which is quite different from what you see in Brazil. I was very surprised, for example, to see people in Buenos Aires dressed very conservatively in blacks and browns and blues, as opposed to what you would see in Brazil, where it has a different ethos altogether. The woman we exchanged apartments with, I realized when I came back and saw what she was wearing that she wasn't dressed like an Argentinian at all. She dressed very colorfully and different. And I said, "Where do you get your clothes?" And she said, "La Jolla." So that solved that problem. It remained among the 15 richest countries for several decades, and the situation is now not very good financially for Argentina. You know that Evita died at a young age. She was 33 years old when she died of cancer. So she's become quite a martyr in Argentina and beloved because of what she did for the people in Argentina, which wasn't necessarily followed up by the Perón regime. Argentina has the second largest economy in South America, ranked second highest in the Human Development Index. That's an index that's used to say how well people's potential is used in a country. And that's very impressive that people in Argentina can use their human potential. I have a little blurb here about Evita. She was one of 5 children. Her father left her mother and left them in poverty in a small rural area. And she went to the big city and shortly after met Juan Perón. They married a year later. And she had a position in the government and did all the other things as a volunteer and then died. So the current problems in Argentina, there's an austerity measure in place now to get the budget back in balance, and people are very upset about that, as people are about austerity. So they don't like the current president. poverty rate has risen to 32% from 26%, and 45% inflation rate is the main reason why. So you can see things are not good there right now. The dirty war that we had a hand in, some of those documents have been released and shows how bad that was. And there's an attempt to unify South American countries, which is not working very well. This is Buenos Aires, the largest city in Argentina, of course, and the capital, with almost 16 million people living there, and quite spread out, but still. The center is the Plaza de Mayo, which we'll see. And this is a very interesting bridge built by the Spanish architect Santiago Calatrava. So this is the apartment we exchanged for in Buenos Aires. It was a very good location near the Opera House and right in downtown. For some reason, it was very cold there. And also, strangely, I don't know why, the mattresses and the cushions and the sofa and everything were hard, like rocks, which didn't quite fit with our friend's personality. But it was a great deal, we thought. In 2016, I stayed in Recoleta, which is a very nice middle-class, upper-middle-class neighborhood. With my daughter and her family stayed somewhere else, but with friends. But what Recoleta is known for is the Recoleta Cemetery, where Evita is buried. And also note what she's wearing. Somebody's taking pictures back there, so they keep stopping for people to take pictures. There's a lot of Italian restaurants here. And all this traffic is going on the sidewalks while they're doing their dancing. It's right next to my hotel. There's my hotel, which was a very nice, modest little hotel. And there's an advertisement for Recoleta. Here's a delicious Italian dish. I forget what it was, but it was very good. So these are some of the sites that we saw. We had spent a lot of time on the double-decker hop-on, hop-off buses, which is very convenient. This is the Presidential Palace, Casa Rosado. This is such fun. I saw this the first time I was there, and a little bit the second time. On Sundays, in an area called San Telmo, people get out in the street and do the tango, and there's also an art exhibit and an antiques fair. And it's really wonderful. Oh, I have pictures of the town tangoing, but take my word, they're tangoing there. Here's an Islamic Cultural Center. There is a small Muslim population, but this is the largest mosque in Latin America. This is my husband. So there's a lot of meat in Argentina. I have to say I didn't like any of it. I found it tough and tasteless, and too much meat. But there are a lot of meat places, and so there's one of them. And this piece of meat stretched out on the cross I thought was very symbolic of something or other. Here's the Opera House, Teatro Colón, considered one of the 10 best opera houses in the world by National Geographic. We went to see an opera there in 1993. Very elegant. There I am at the opera.
Oh, look.
I was really a child. And there's a river that runs through Rio, and we took a little boat on the river and found these fruit sellers. a traditional tango, but it is a tango. That is not an accordion. Anybody know what that's called? Not a bandoline.
Bayan.
What is it?
Bayan.
She
Bayan.
Really? Oh,
Yes.
that's not the word I remember. Thank you.
Mhm.
More fruit. So this is a little river. We it's halfway across the city. Took a bus to get there and had lunch there, and then took a cruise down here. This is another meat restaurant. This is a Russian Orthodox church in San Telmo. San Telmo is a sort of bohemian neighborhood. In 1993, it didn't seem like a very safe place to go at night, but very interesting though. The tango shows, and we saw a couple of classic music shows in people's homes. Very interesting. This is a Jewish synagogue, and the Jewish population in Argentina is the largest in Latin America, but there have been some cases of anti-Semitism. I think it was this synagogue or a community center, something near our apartment that was burned, not burned down, but set fire to shortly after we left. Of course, Argentina was a place for retired Nazis to go, so not too surprising. This is the 9th July Avenue with the famous obelisk. This is an enormous street. Our apartment in 1993 was across the street, and the other half of the city was on the other side. And to cross the street, we would call it crossing the Red Sea. It would take about 10 minutes. There was so much traffic, 6 lanes of traffic on both sides. Some very interesting colonial buildings. This is the Capitol. And this is a double-decker bus we had. So we had some very nice meals that weren't all meat at all. My daughter and her family are vegetarians, so we did look for non-meat places. This is the Underground. There's the Plaza de Mayo, which is very historic, not just because of the architecture, but because of the mothers who walk there every month. This is the crossing of the Red Sea. There's the mothers of the Plaza de Mayo. And these are mothers now, could be grandmothers, our age and older, whose children disappeared during the military dictatorship and have never been heard from since. So these women parade down the Plaza de Mayo to remember them. And always. This starts out pretty tame. It takes a little practice, but I find out if you drink enough, you can do it. Anybody can do that. We did it. This is the Museum of Latin American Arts. And this is an art center in Recoleto, near the cemetery. Beautiful Japanese gardens. And Bolivar Street, which is very famous. You can see the colonial architecture here. And here's a mural, beautiful mural of a typical scene. There's all kinds of things you can see in there, the obelisk and the tango dancers and all sorts of things.
Oh,
Big Italian food. It was cold there.
such a cute picture.
And the Philharmonic. It's an extremely cultured city. You can see, I think that is a portrait of Evita on that building. I can't really tell who it is. But I've seen that around South America. Here's the entrance to the cemetery, which is really quite a work of art, this cemetery. As you can see, the mausoleums are very elaborate. Streets. Nice day, nice place for a stroll. A lot of people are doing what I'm doing, and that is looking for Evita's grave.
Yeah.
That's not it. That's it.
Oh.
Translation, always in our heart, from the people of Amaretto Brown, must be a part of Buenos Aires. It's a much more modest grave than I thought. So that is where she's buried, and it is a place where people come to do homage to her. So it happened to be on a Saturday that I was at the cemetery, and there's bizarre sabatos all over the place, and this was a Saturday bazaar, and this woman had woven this beautiful scarf and was selling it in the market. She was a very interesting woman. So another part of Buenos Aires is La Boca, which means the mouth. It's right near the river, and it is a pretty interesting place, as you'll see, with good food. Empanadas are very big, of course, in Argentina. We had lots of those, and these are different kinds of empanadas. Here's a typical street. Dengue fever is sort of endemic there. In the back, posing is my daughter.
Oh.
You may know her from other trips. Next week we're going to Russia together.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah. And these are her kids and her husband. So this is her and her son and her other son and her husband. And we're reading the menu to see what vegetarians can eat there.
Your daughter's.
And they found something.
Oh, good.
I have to tell you, I didn't sit with them during the cruise because they were always eating grass or whatever it was, and it was so much other interesting things to eat that I didn't eat with them. But they're very healthy people, of course. Soccer is very big, and La Boca has its own soccer team. These people you may recognize as my daughter and son-in-law.
Oh, yeah, they're in those stamping.
That's not my daughter and son-in-law. And I'm not even sure they're dancing. I'm not exactly sure what they're doing here, but it's La Boca, so anything goes. I was helping El Papa across the street. You know, he is from Buenos Aires.
Oh, yeah, he is.
Yeah, he is. That doesn't mean he was there that day, but his likeness was there. Little kids. They grow up to be big kids, you know.
Oh.
She was adorable. I think this is what they finally found to eat. Well, in addition to that salad.
Yeah, that egg and potato.
Yeah, potato empanadas. So San Telmo's another area, as I said. also with galleries and bars and street murals. And very nice upscale tango dinner shows. I don't know if you can see it very well, but a lot of interesting architecture there. We went to a concert in San Telmo by this American bass player, a classical music concert. He was very good. It was at night, so a little spooky to walk around there. And we saw that Russian Orthodox church, yeah. So then, in 1993, we went north. It was some kind of deal with the airlines that you could pick 2 places to go out of Buenos Aires. So we could have gone to Bariloche and Iguazu, but we decided instead to go north up to the Bolivian border and then down to Patagonia. And it turned out to be very good choices anyway for us. So Salta is up here on the upper left-hand corner, and it's a very pleasant little town. In the Andes, so this is in the Andes we're talking about here. Founded in 1582 and known for its Spanish colonial architecture and its Andean heritage. You can see the architecture on the main street here. Main street is Plaza 9th of July. And lovely park. That bench, we occupied that bench for hours on end so we could see the people going by. Hello.
Hi, we're gonna come.
Okay. Beautiful architecture, some of it is lovely. I found 2 psychologists there. I'm a psychologist, or was anyway. This is the residence, the place we stayed. It was pretty primitive, but we liked the name because the woman we were exchanging houses with was named Elena. I think must be a fairly common Argentinian name, but anyway, it was a nice little hotel in Salta. More little kids. A little graffiti on the beautiful church. For some reason, this military parade with women and men, and this amazing sculpture. Driving through the Andes and going up north to the Bolivian border was an amazing experience. It really sticks in my mind to this day, even though it was 1993. It was so beautiful. The way the sun hit the mountains and changed every minute practically, it looked different. Beautiful, beautiful ride there. So the Andes are the longest continental mountain range in the world and go, of course, from Venezuela down to Argentina. Average height of about 13,000 feet, so some are much larger. Sometimes it looked red, sometimes it looked yellow, orange. And this is a little Andean town of Jujuy. We saw some llamas. And so, you know, the llama is in the camel family, and it is used as meat and pack animals, as a pack animal. These are little bits of information you may not be able to use sometime, but the highest, they grow to 5 to 7 feet. And yeah, and a baby llama is between 20 and 31 pounds. They're very nice folks. They're very friendly. They always look to me like they're puckered up for a kiss. So I always try to do that. But they're very intelligent. People have them as pets. They like to watch television with the kids.
Oh.
And they learn some commands after just a few repetitions. Here's more buildings in that area. People selling their wares. Something was going on here, a group. And this is a hotel further up, close to the Bolivian border. It's very beautiful up there. That pink stone is matches the desert. I'm not sure who that is. I always like to feed the pigeons.
Oh,
Little gaucho.
so cute.
Lots of nice parks to sit in. Wares to buy. So one night we were looking for a place to eat and we heard some music, and turned out to be a wonderful Andean music, maybe contest or a fair or something like that, with lots of good food to eat. And all these groups were playing different Andean music. And I remember when Paul Simon went down there and recorded a lot of the Andean music. And the beautiful pipes, the music that makes. So this is the kind of music we heard that night. It was just wonderful. This is, walk up to the top there, and you can buy cocoa leaves in the morning. People chew them to get energy, and it takes away their appetite. And of course, cocaine is made from them. And it's very much like, hi, come on in. Some of the leaves that are sold in the Middle East. Cut. Can't see with light. Are there chairs? Are there seats?
One or two,
One or two.
maybe four.
And they had food there. Went into some churches. This is an Andean cemetery.
Oh.
More kids. Anyway, that's the north. We found it very pleasant, very relatively quiet, colorful, friendly, and interesting to be sort of on the border of Bolivia up there. Very different from Buenos Aires. So then we went south to different places. I think it must have been with a guide, can't remember. And that's Patagonia. And we spent a little time on this estancia, which is a cattle and horse ranch run by gauchos. Sorry, my camera didn't record sound at that time. You can imagine. And so we had a lot to drink and ate that tough steak and started to learn how to tango. As I said, with enough alcohol, anybody can do this. Oh, I think I took our picture out. But anyway, there's wrong direction, but there's the Andes again. Oh, this is the south, okay. This is again the estancia. Yes, so Patagonia is a sparsely populated region in the southern end of South America, shared by Chile and Argentina, and the Patagonia there looks essentially the same. Mountains, desert, pampas grass, grasslands to the east, and interesting wildlife as you get closer to the South Pole. So Patagonia is one of the few regions with coasts on 3 oceans, with the Pacific, Atlantic to the west, and the Atlantic Ocean. Here's some gauchos. This is further south. We met these people and had dinner with them. Can't remember what city this is, but they had lots of art. This looks like Buenos Aires. Anyway, that's how extreme the tango positions can get. Back to the architecture. and the Sunday antique fairs with replicas of Germans and Nazis there that are still scary. More tangos.
More tango. Look at the seams of the back of her legs.
Yeah. That's a real person there. Painted white, silver. We're back to La Boca for some reason. Sorry, these are out of order a little bit. But La Boca is very colorful, as you can see. Oh, this is the trip down the Rio de Plata. Oh, sorry. I thought I had them arranged. So if you go down the Rio de la Plata in a boat, you see these beautiful houses on the edge of the river. Oops. Sorry, I saw these. I was so careful to put these in order. So this is us dancing the tango after several beers. And it really comes quite easy when you're not thinking too much about it. So then further down, around Puerto Madryn, are these enormous whales that come in from the South Pole, and they come to mate. The males come first to prepare, or whatever they do. Have their nails done, I don't know what they do down there, but, and they wait for the female whales to come. So there were just male whales when we were there. We had to, it was cold down there. We had to wear these things on the ship, the boat. And here were some seals. They were also waiting for their lady friends. You can see this one's practicing the tango. Just put words into his mouth, can't you? So there we are looking for the whales. And there they are. You really can't tell the beginning and the end of them, but they're enormous.
Are they humpbacks?
They're not humpback, no, I don't think so. I forget what kind they are. I should have done a little research. They're about 20 feet long. So another interesting thing about Patagonia is part of it was settled by the Welsh. And some of the signs are in Welsh, as you can see. This is a trilingual sign. The middle part is Welsh. And it's in one particular province where they mostly are, about 5,000 Welsh people. Third, fourth generation by this time. And they're noted for this phrase at the bottom is a Welsh phrase for goodbye. It's a very strange language, as you know. So they serve tea, a high tea, Welsh style. Very nice. Something you wouldn't find in the middle, you don't expect to find in the middle of Argentina. Another llama. This is a little store in Puerto Madryn. It has all kinds of replicas of penguins, all sorts. So it's beginning to be now penguin country because we're very close now to the South Pole. And there are a lot of penguins. Almost wherever we went, there were penguins. So you remember the war that Great Britain had with Argentina over the Malvinas, or as the Brits call it, the Falkland Islands. And apparently Argentina lost. And that was very interesting to see that. This is a little out of order too, but Ushuaia is at the very bottom of Argentina. And it's interesting little town. This is a mural there. I'm not sure what the significance of it is. Big on penguins. And other wildlife, a lot of wildlife down there, especially these guanacos, which we saw. Argentina exports a lot of flowers. They have a lot of hothouses. It seems like a surprising export, but it's big.
Oh, industry, yeah.
Here's some more other places we stopped. This was on the cruise now. The cruise stopped at a lot of places in Argentina, which I would never have seen otherwise. He's supposed to walk. Walk, penguin.
There he was. He heard you.
The voices in the background are the tourists.
Hard to believe it's a bird. Yeah.
I think he's a Magellan penguin.
And he has different markings.
Yeah. What's interesting to me is the coastline is maybe 70 feet from here. And this is a rugged terrain with dry bushes and stones on the ground. But this is where they nest. They're not so, they hang out at the shoreline, but they nest up here, which surprised me. They burrow here, they lay their, no, eggs? No, young? No.
Yeah, eggs.
Eggs. I'm not even sure about that. Does he walk?
He does.
Oh yeah, he walks too.
That doesn't look like territory there.
No, it's not a very comfortable terrain there. It's sort of surprising. I expected them to be on the coast.
Yeah.
But they're very at home there and they don't mind the tourists. Here's some guanacos. They don't walk.
And are they related to llama?
They might be related, yeah. You can't see this, but there's a penguin in there nesting. Looks really uncomfortable. This is the pampas grass you see in there. And very much desert terrain. Here's another guy.
I would never guess.
So I'm sitting on a bench and this guy is stalking me in the back. They're very tame because, you know, people don't bother them. They make a lot out of these. So there's the ladies' room.
Yeah, she has a bowl.
So there's a bridge where the pedestrians walk, and you can walk actually down to the ocean and see all the different places where the penguins hang out. And the penguins hang out under the bridge because it's shady there. It was very sunny that day. Here's a nesting penguin. Doesn't look very comfortable, but that's what she's doing.
I didn't realize it was a color.
So this is Yashai, I think. Penguins are big souvenir items. Oh, Puerto Madryn actually is further south, but that's where we saw the whales and their ducks. This is a little snippet of the ship. It was a Norwegian line, very pleasant little chamber music group. Oh, so we did stop at the Falklands. This is not in order because the Falklands is north of Ushuaia, but apparently sometimes the waters are very rough there, and previous ships couldn't land there because it was so rough, and we had no trouble at all, so we just glided right in, which is sort of nice to see what this big fuss the islands were about. They have their own currency, and they fly their own flag. As you can see, there's sheep up there. Lots of sheep, more sheep than anybody. A lot of people died during that Falklands War. This is a cemetery to honor those people who died. This guy was telling us a lot about the islands. He was a Brit who hadn't moved there permanently, but he lived there several months out of the year, for several years running. Landscape is abrupt as a result of glaciation in bygone years. The Andes here are a series of mountain chains divided by deep valleys with lakes, rivers, peat bogs, and forests. Climate is cool, temperate, damp, with no marked wet season. Rain about 25 inches with a slight peak in autumn. It was cold down there when we were there. I'm trying to remember what month it was. Snow is abundant and accumulates over winter in deeper valleys and slopes. This is a little creation of Great Britain, the Information Center. And you can see there's snow in the mountains. I guess that's a glacier. I'm never quite sure what a glacier is. And of course on the boat they made the towels into penguins.
Oh, so cute.
So on the ship, coming back, or going, I can't remember which, it was very windy and cool, but some amazing views people were taking pictures of. This is a big cathedral on the Falkland Islands. What have we saw it already? The view of the houses there. There's the cathedral. Under the golden arches is not a McDonald's, I'm pleased to tell you. This is on the ship again. That's a guanaco being very affectionate. The Falkland Islands have their little culture, and this was playing at the cathedral. There's the cathedral. The cathedral seems a bit much for a little tiny island like this, but there you have it. And Elizabeth Regina is honored there. She is the queen. Some very British-looking houses. There's the cathedral. And there's the Magellanic penguins. Beaches full of them. What was that? That was supposed to be something. In the Falkland Islands, there's a lot of mines, active mines, so you have to be very careful because during the war, it was mined. I'm not sure by whom. There's my daughter and her husband. What happened? Inhabitants. Oh. Whoops. Well, that's me and my daughter. Here's a young man sipping mate. Anybody have had mate here?
Nice.
Yeah. Remember they served it on the plane coming back from Argentina. So it is a traditional South American caffeine-loaded drink that was consumed by the, whatever it says there. And how to prepare it is with dry leaves of yerba buena, etc. But it's slightly intoxicating. Tastes unusual. Did you find it intoxicating, Val?
No.
And there's a mate cup and a straw that goes with it. And on the cruise ship, this guy, it was a Japanese dining room. That's about as Japanese as it is Argentinian. So, there's us getting off the ship. On the bus to Lushaya. It's cold. This is what we get, you know, daily upgrades of what's going on that day. And of course, it capitalizes on being at the end of the world. The capital of Tierra del Fuego. This is the big park down there. A gambling casino. Houses. The Beagle Canal has something to do with Darwin. I can't remember what it is, but he sailed the Beagle Canal. This is where you get your postcards mailed that says, the end of the earth, Tierra del Fuego. So that's why the line is forming. Very beautiful down there. They have a little train that goes from one end of the island, no, one end of the place to the other. Not an island. And lots of good things to buy. I'm not sure this was in Ushuaia or some other stop along the way, but there are furs and interesting things to buy. Oops. There are actually some natives selling things there. This is our ship. You met him before. And the penguins are there to greet you always in the south. So that was the last stop in Argentina. Of course, that ship goes on to many stops in Chile, but that was it. I think that's the end of the slideshow too. So thank you very much.
Oh, that was so
Happy to